start with attendance, go around the room, say who's here. Shivali, we'll start with you.
Shivali Finkelstein.
And say who you are.
Oh, principal at North Kingstown High School.
Rob Mezzanotte, Assistant Superintendent.
Mary Lou Presti, Parent Disability Advocate.
Jennifer Lima, school committee member.
Kali Ashmira, community member.
Will Moss, senior at North Kingstown High School.
Ian Christian, visual arts instructor, Hamilton Elementary.
Okay, awesome.
New school?
Yeah, it does.
I thought you were at Stony last year, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hamilton.
Okay.
Yeah, Hamilton.
So it is great to see everybody. The last time we were all together was in May, so welcome back. I'm happy we are all here. We do need to approve the minutes from the May meeting, so if anybody remembers what they said and would like to make a motion, that would be great.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, anybody want a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, awesome. So I had put out the agenda, but I want to kind of change the order because one of the things that is on the agenda for tonight is to talk about goals for next year. But last night at the school committee meeting, Dr. Juba presented the school committee with his goals for the year, and Erin, who can't be here tonight, has tasked all of the advisory committee meetings with tying their goals to the superintendent's goals. We did not vote on the superintendent's goals last night, so I want to review those goals in conjunction with our goals so that if there's anything that we feel we want to recommend to the superintendent, that we are able to make a motion out of here tonight so that we can move that forward to the school committee at their next meeting. So that item is kind of time sensitive. About 10 minutes ago, I emailed everybody a document that had the superintendent goals, and then Erin went through and added some recommended / suggested goals for us that tied into them. So does everybody have a computer with them? And can open that document. I don't know, Rob, do you want to put it up on the screen?
I can, yeah.
And this is for discussion this evening?
Yes, it
Okay.
says for discussion this evening.
Yep.
So basically, Dr. Juba, and I'll just high level this while Rob does it. Basically, Dr. Juba has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 high level goals. The first one is strengthening academic achievement and growth for all students. The second one is advancing equity, access, and inclusion across all schools. The third one is fostering safe, supportive, and connected school communities. The fourth one is developing and implement a vision of the learner. The fifth one is modernizing and aligning school facilities to support 21st century learning. Okay, that's it, there's 5 of them. And so within each of those goals, he had objectives, indicators of success, action steps, and evidence sources. And so some of them are equity related, and then some of them aren't, but still have some areas where equity can be brought into those goals. So in this document, the black text is Dr. Juba's actual document, and then the purple text is where Erin has put in some ideas for ways that we can kind of help support the district vision while ensuring that the district vision has equity driving behind it. So I'll just keep talking while Rob pulls it up.
Yep, sorry.
No, that's okay. I threw it at you. So obviously the biggest area that kind of interfaces with us is goal number 2, which is advancing equity, access, and inclusion across all schools. And that goal says, promoting equitable outcomes and inclusive practices through data-informed decision-making, family engagement, and targeted professional learning. Okay, perfect. Perfect timing.
Sorry.
So can you scroll down a little bit to goal number 2? Okay, and so Dr. Juba's indicators are of success for that goal would be, and this is what he's proposing, is to revise 2 to 3 policies to create more inclusive practices, reduce disproportionate discipline outcomes and chronic absenteeism, and ensure all school improvement teams have at least 2 parent or guardians to increase family engagement and representation of school advisory committees. So, you know, part of our charge is in the policy area to ensure that our policies and practices are crafted with an equity lens. And so, you know, one of the things that we could decide to do is to review and provide input on policies that would create more inclusive practices. Like, I think as a whole, the Policy Advisory Committee and the school committee has worked hard on, you know, working on policies that have been more inclusive, but there's always room for improvement and ways that we can be more inclusive. Especially, I think, like in the area of accessibility and curriculum is another one for sure. So that's one area that we could target. We had a temporary discipline committee that we had created that had some charges and some findings that were partially implemented and partially not, but there is still work to be done there. But that was a temporary committee, so that work ended, so that's something that could come back to this committee, which is where it was initially, to do further work in that area, to make recommendations on what could be done to further reduce the disproportionality in discipline, because most of it is race related, for the most part, race and gender related. And then the next one is the school improvement teams. There's not really any crossover there with us. I'm just going to scroll through these, but like shout out at any time if you have any question. Another thing that Dr. Juba had was revising the student conduct policy. I think that is definitely an area where we can have impact, because that is definitely something I think that should be looked at through a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens. The student conduct policy hasn't been revised since, I think it's like 2017.
2012.
2012, okay, so even worse. And it is definitely not like with a restorative framework, and it is definitely punitive. So like, I think that is an area where we could have an impact.
Jen, sorry to interrupt, but can I ask a question? Would revision of the student conduct policy in the manner you're describing, would that also kind of hit that first one there, which is one of the 2 to 3 policies to create more inclusive? Okay.
Yep, that
So
could
it's
be
like
that could be one of them. Yep. And then we've also talked about providing implicit bias training for the staff, and then we could also, based on the data from the student survey that we're going to review and other data points that we have received, talk about which other trainings may or may not be beneficial to improve the student experience in the school. Another issue that came up last night was support for our multilingual families, and so talking about ways that we could improve communications to families in different languages, and ways that we could just improve community and family engagement in general, and making our school more inclusive, elevating student voice, and making families feel like they really have, you know, and I do think that we do a good job in terms of, you know, bringing student voice in and family voice, but I think that, again, that's an area we can always do better. And then reviewing last year's data on belonging and inclusivity, and, you know, making recommendations based on that. So that's kind of like the big piece of the equity goal there. There is also a goal that he has on modernizing and aligning school facilities, and that's, Dr. Durwood did say when he's been tasked with, what is it, Rob, the blue, what's the word I'm looking for?
For the
Facility
facility?
thing,
Accessibility?
not the, he's been
The
tasked.
playgrounds?
Not
No?
no,
Sorry.
the educational vision, is that what
Yeah,
it is?
yes, the long-term vision.
The long-term vision for the
20
district,
year.
20 years,
Yeah.
the long-term 20-year vision of what the district's facilities would look like. And when we had discussed that, Dr. Duva had said, like, that is an area where he sees the accessibility, piece of that and like that fitting into it. So, one of his goals is a long-term facilities plan. And I think, you know, either conducting an accessibility audit or ensuring that that is part of it, as we have been discussing, fits in with that long-term, facilities plan. Did I touch on all the purple ones? But again, these are just,
There was one here that was, I think you might have missed, which was this, survey works. Or did you mention this? This was under goal.
oh, I did not,
3.
yep, analyzing the survey works data, which actually gives some really good information, and providing recommendations to the school committee, to guide improvement, in connectedness and belonging for student and staff from underrepresented populations. So these are just some suggested goals based on Dr. Duva's goals. These are not the only ones, that we need to focus on. I think, we've had conversations about, like, talking about, like, how do we start these conversations in the elementary school, right? And like, how do we, you know, we spend a lot of time focusing on like the high school, which is good, but like, how do we start like these conversations around, belonging and, like, equity and like stopping like bullying and things like that, like at the elementary school, so that by the time they get to the high school, like, it's not quite as pronounced. So like, I don't see that like here, like screaming out at me, but that doesn't mean like it can't be, and that doesn't mean it can't be something that we suggest to Dr. Duva as a goal. And the other thing that I don't see in here that we've talked about in this group is curriculum. In terms of like representation within the curriculum and like what does our curriculum consist of, and is it representative for all of our students? So with that being said, thoughts on what's here, thoughts on like what you all would like to see us working on.
My initial thought right now is about representative curriculum in those lower levels, like the lower grades.
Like
and
elementary?
Yeah, like, and that's how, like, introducing the concepts of equity through the curriculum by having it be more representative. I mean, that's kind of.
Because
I like reviewing, like elementary level curriculum to make sure that it's inclusive, diverse, representative. And I think that's kind of how you get those messages across to the other
as part of that
areas.
when they're younger, yeah,
Instead of like, online trainings or whatever.
right. What do you think about the curriculum, Ian?
I think I know what you're saying. Like if it's in the curriculum, it's going to be taught as opposed to. I think that leaving it in the hands of like individual, like it gives like a lot of. I feel like that there's like anxiety towards teaching things of other cultures or communities that you don't feel like it's appropriate for you, or somebody might think it's inappropriate. So like having it already like reviewed and this is what we can say and we can do, what activities we can do. I think providing that is like just makes it so much more streamlined and beneficial, and it's just like instantly like put out there. It just takes a lot of like the work behind the scenes to get it in there. Like if you're using like wit and wisdom, they'll teach about say like Native Americans and you go with that. But to just make like have teachers do it on their own, like I said, there's a lot of like I feel a lot of hesitation towards doing different projects or things like that. Just don't want to do it the wrong way. So if it is in the curriculum, then better.
So I just pulled up, just so for the sake of this topic, the curriculum revision policy, and this is the calendar that we're following. So for 25-26, we're looking at it's art revision is one. You can see here 6 through 8 ELA. We're working on a pilot curriculum in at the high school level in ELA this year. Revising the library media curriculum. Music, K-12 PE implementation, K-5 science revision, which is in process based on, we're waiting for greenlit curriculum there. Same thing with 9-12 science, and then social studies, we're piloting in both, so just to give you a sense of that.
Okay. Other thoughts?
On curriculum or?
Or just in general?
In general,
Yep.
okay. So it looks like the accessibility, the mention of that came from Aaron through our committee,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Okay, so I was pleased to see that. To be honest with you, I'm a little chompy at the bit because it was a year ago this month that I had brought that up. And I am willing to help facilitate. One of the things that I'm committed to doing outside of school, and I attended the meeting last month for the Governor's Commission on Disabilities, which takes place up in Cranston. The next meeting is gonna be November 3rd. And I was able to ascertain that they provide, I guess you'd call it like technical assistance for districts. And I'm trying to get a little bit more information about how much they will help with schools. They have somebody there who is available to help districts, mostly with schools, to make sure that they are accessible for voting purposes. So it doesn't mean, so if you're in a district where some of the schools are used for that purpose, then they would be on that list. There was a lot that was discussed at the meeting, this just because it's statewide, and it seems like a very thoughtful group. Elizabeth Hubbard is the executive director. They have community representatives, so people who work on different agencies, who work for different agencies that work for people with disabilities. They have self-advocates, so people who have disabilities. So again, the next meeting is in less than 2 weeks, so I can try to gather some information. I'm pleased to see that there's a mention of that on there about modernizing the facilities, because I think our last meeting was in May? Okay. And it was just shortly after that I actually was approached by several parents in the district who have children with disabilities, who had one was a really heartbreaking experience, not because of physical access, but because sort of like an omission thing, and the other was definitely a lack of physical access to facilities for the child to participate in. And these happen to both be high school parents, so I'm sure if that's happening, they're not the only ones. So I would be eager to move that forward.
So did you say that, as part of the Governor's Commission thing, that they are doing accessibility audits, for lack of a better term, at any district that uses school buildings for voting?
I don't know if it's just any, or I'm not sure how long the list is.
Gotcha, okay.
But that is definitely something that they offer.
Okay, because I mean, North Kingstown, we use our buildings for voting,
Yeah.
so,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, does anybody know, do we use all of the school buildings? I mean,
I think
imagine,
it's just the
No.
high school, right?
We don't use all of them. We've used DMS,
yep,
we've used the high school.
I know in the past I voted at Wickford
Um,
Middle School.
Yeah, I know that, we've used Whitford.
Mhm.
I think, I'd have to check on the elementaries, which ones we've used in the past. I know that we use, I know that we don't use all of them every year.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure,
Mhm.
but I'd have to check on that.
I don't think we use all of them, at least at the same time.
Yeah, we
So-
don't.
Mhm.
Actually, I know we don't use them all
Yeah.
every time.
Mhm.
but I know we've used them
Okay.
at different times. And that, is that specific to the voting piece, is that,
Yes, but, and I wanna kind of, like, it was mentioned closer to the end of the meeting, there's a lot to discuss. It's really good, and it's a lot of good work that I think they probably could use, like, some additional bodies. So I can get some more info on that at the next meeting, and then we meet again November. Okay, so it would be,
It's after that.
it'll be
yeah.
in between, okay.
William, what do you think?
For any of these,
Or like any of these, any other ones?
I wanted to tune in on the curriculum. I really agreed with what Ian said about how if you implement some of the cultural stuff into the curriculum, it would be much more streamlined, because a lot of teachers are nervous to say, like, because I've been in classes even now where teachers are kind of hesitant to like teach about certain cultures because they don't want to say the wrong thing, stuff like that. But if it was implemented into the curriculum and reviewed, I feel like it would be, students would learn a lot more, it would be more valuable, and it would just, like Ian said, be a lot more streamlined.
And less stressful for the teachers, it sounds like, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rob, how does that work, right? Like, so, like, let's say we're in the middle of, like, we have a curriculum, let's say, and I'm just gonna pick, like, social studies for, even though I just saw that on the board, right? And so, and we're not due to get another curriculum packet for 4 years,
Yep.
right? So does that mean that for the next 4 years, like, that's all that we have, or are there any opportunities to supplement the material within the curriculum?
So typically the curriculum revision process has to go through the process, which is outlined in the policy. To supplement within the curriculum is something that, you know, teachers can do within the scope of what the curriculum includes, like in terms of standards and in terms of content and whatnot. That can certainly be done as far as like the resources they choose to use, the types of readings they may assign or things of that nature, or like choices they provide for, activities they do, assessments they use, and so on and so forth. As long as it falls within the scope of the curricular focus, teachers have autonomy to be, to choose different supplemental materials. As far as like reviewing the curriculum, like officially, that would have to go through the policy, the process outlined in the policy, which is done on the regular scheduled basis. Does that, if that,
It does make sense. So
Yeah.
then, if that's the case, right, so like, let's say that we decided that the English curriculum was not broadly representative of like various voices, right? And so if there's a concern from the faculty, and I'm not saying there is, I'm just saying like, if there's a concern from the faculty that they're not comfortable like stepping outside of like what is the approved curriculum, does that mean that there's no opportunity to change that until the next review?
No. So when you say step outside of the curriculum, they can't, the curriculum is is the agreed upon curriculum to teach. There's the curriculum, which includes the standards and which includes the outcomes that you are aiming for the student experience. Then there's the materials that are used within the curriculum. The materials that are used within the curriculum, as long as they serve the purpose of getting to the defined goals that are set out in the curriculum, they're flexible, and that's true across all subjects.
Okay.
Teachers can have autonomy and flexibility to choose. That's why, you know, you can teach 10th grade English and use a number of different novels as part of the 10th grade English unit. It doesn't have to be one novel. The novel is not the curriculum. Teachers have autonomy and flexibility. Now, it is limited because there's different factors that come into play in terms of availability of resources, in terms of budgeting and things like that. That factors in to the equation. You know what I mean, in terms of making that choice. But as far as like choosing materials, there's always teacher autonomy within the types of materials that they choose.
Does that address the concern, though, of teachers who might be concerned about teaching what may be deemed as, like, controversial subjects?
Can I add something that may answer your question?
Yep.
It may not. But when we went through the process of selecting the high quality curriculum, RIDE gives us like additional tools that we have to use. So I know this, like our English department used the tools. One of their tools was how to review tool for how to make sure that your curriculum you're picking is culturally responsive, right? And we followed their rubrics, so those are the really nice rubrics, so I can share them, put them in the agenda if we wanna look at them as a team, because those rubrics were really what led us to decide what within the curriculum, as Rob said, when there would be flexibility, like it would say, you could use, this is the space where you can insert 3 novels. They actually followed this tool to say, okay, is it representing everything we want it to represent?
Okay.
And so really that tool would be really helpful. Maybe we as a team can review that, and that's really coming right from RIDE.
Okay.
And it says,
Mhm.
as you select your materials, be mindful of this piece.
Okay.
And that comes from the design of RIDE's rubric is based on 2 national curriculum materials. One is the NYU Steinhardt's Culturally Responsive Scorecard, and then the Great Lakes Equity Center's Assessing Bias in Standards and Curriculum Material. So
Okay.
they use like really nice top-notch research to create those tools, and we use them originally when we applied for a waiver to keep our curriculum, and then we also use them this time to pick a curriculum.
So would you think that that would be something that would be like within this committee's purview, or like to just look at like how responsive is our curriculum?
I would say it would be appropriate when the selection process is going on, that the committee that's selecting the material uses that rubric
Okay.
to kind of say, where do we stand in this rubric if we were to select this curriculum?
Okay.
I think that is like a good standardized step that you can move forward, where everybody could say, yes, we are following a process. And then we came down low on some areas and very high on the others. So what we did in our curriculum for the English, we said we're gonna work on these 3 areas to when we are picking our curriculum, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So Rob, is there a selection committee that is working on that for this year?
On curriculum,
Yeah.
so the, there's committees that we're putting together to be piloting curriculum
Yeah.
and things of that nature, so yeah, I mean, yes, so we're working on
Okay.
that.
So is that something that you could tie back in
Sure.
with us? Okay. Other thoughts?
Along those lines, like with the curriculum, how common is it that teachers at any level, elementary through high school, have maybe like a guest speaker to come in and sort of supplement what they're teaching? So if it's an area that they may not be comfortable with.
I know in high school they do that all the time.
Mhm.
Depending on, where they are. Like if they're reading about a book, they'll bring, sometimes they have contacts where the author comes in,
Mhm.
or they have some relationship to the author. They come in to kinda, I know we had someone who was a Holocaust survivor. And, they had actually literally they were reading that book, and they invited them in
Mhm.
to kind of talk to the students about that, and the kids got to ask questions. I mean, that's just one example, but they do that all the time.
And that's probably like
Yeah.
even more powerful.
Oh, the students love
Yeah.
it, like, 'cause it becomes real
Yeah.
at that point. Let me send you this.
Is there anything that Erin put in here in purple that people think is not something that we should be spending our time on?
I'm wondering with SurveyWorks, which I have not completed that survey in a while, how that is designed, how much information we can capture from that. Like would that really be helpful data?
It actually has a lot of information.
Does it? Yeah, I think I'd have to
Yeah.
see it because
Yeah.
it's been a while.
Yeah, it really does, like, it has different areas and then you like drill down in each area, but it does, it asks a lot of questions and it also breaks it down by like the grade of the student, you know, the race of the student, the gender of the student, so it really does, and you can kind of see like the trend lines, it does have a lot of information in it.
Is there a way to just access, like even if you are not doing
Oh, yeah,
the survey?
yeah, like
I'd
you,
be curious to see
yeah,
that.
I can send you
Yeah.
that, yeah.
It's all on the RIDE website.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'll send you the
Okay.
link, but yeah. And it shows you like the comparison from like year to year, and it's nice, it gives you like a big red for bad, green for good, which I always appreciate, like,
Mhm.
you know, it is interesting.
I mean, my take on this is I think, Jen, that there's obviously like, there's nothing on here that I think wouldn't be appropriate or would fall into the purview of the group. My concern is just maybe the scope of it, the breadth of it is a lot, and I don't know if it's, I'm not sure if it's the best thing to try to do everything.
No, I think this was more like, because the school committee is gonna be voting on Dr. Duva's goals
Mhm.
at the next meeting. I wanted to make sure that there was not anything that, on his goals, that we were like, oh, there's a huge gap here, and we think that like a district level goal should be X, Y, Z.
Mhm.
Or like, we'd like to see a specific thing added to goal number 2. And then, as long as that's not the case, we can further discuss of like the purple things, you know, these are the ones we think are most important and hone in on.
Okay.
That's what I just wanted to like make sure that before Dr. Duva's goals got locked in, that there wasn't anything that we wanted to recommend be added, deleted, changed, anything like that.
Sure. Okay, so from that perspective, I would say I'm okay with
Okay,
what's there.
yeah. Yeah, I agree, there is
Yeah.
a lot in
Yeah.
here and we should prioritize it because we're never gonna accomplish it
Mhm.
all. But it was more, making sure that, we kind of had the opportunity to lock in any changes at the top level while we could.
Mhm.
Jen, what is, Alice looks like an acronym under goal 3? What
Yes.
does that?
So that's, and I am adamantly opposed to that, but I lost that battle. It's active shooter training, and
Oh.
it's a specific type of active shooter training. But that's already been voted on at the school committee level and is already bought, paid for, and in process. Rob can explain it, because he,
Yeah, I mean, it's a school safety training. It does include active shooter protocols and things of that nature. It's but it's more than that as well. It's a comprehensive training for school safety.
Is this new to the district or has?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so has there been active shooter training in the past?
well,
Or just like
there's
lockdown?
been like response training, but not this specific protocol.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait,
an
is that like
active
implemented this year?
There's training happening this year. And yes,
Okay.
there's gonna be training, there's training that's happening for staff this year.
Okay.
And then that's what we're kind of looking at now.
Yeah, I was just wondering like if it was different from like just our normal lockdown.
No, those are drills. So the
Yeah.
drills will remain as they've always have
Yeah.
been. This is more of training that's like staff facing training. For now, we're gonna look at whether there's gonna be a student facing component, but that's down the line. That's something we're not looking at right now. But we're looking at staff facing.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what ALICE stands for, active.
It's
Yeah.
it's
I looked it up today.
it's
Alert,
alert, lockdown,
incident,
no, it's
and alerts, I'm taking all that.
let me look it up.
It
No.
is
Alert,
an
lockdown,
acronym.
inform, counter, evacuate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody have any other questions as it relates to anything that we might want to recommend to the school committee around Dr. Juva's goals? Okay, so I'm just gonna flip back to the beginning of the agenda. Rob, do you wanna give, I think most of you know that, Sally Davidson, who was our Equity, Belonging, and Engagement Coordinator, left us at the end of last year, sob. Oh, you didn't know, yes, yeah. So Rob, do you wanna give an update
Sure,
on where things stand?
So the coordinator position it has been posted, and we are in the process of setting up interviews for individuals for that position.
Okay.
That's where we are. It should be happening very soon.
And so Sally had been the one who had been leading the equity vision statement rollout, so I'm guessing.
Yeah, so there's not much of an update on this, only because, again, with Sally had this sort of like she was starting on this work back in the spring.
Yep,
And we haven't been able to fill the position since then, so we're kind of on hold with it right now.
Okay.
But it's something that we'll pick up with.
is it expected that the new person will
Yes.
okay.
Are there any, so it's just kind of been like shelved for a bit, since, like, is there gonna be like any component of a rollout, like now, like?
So we gotta bring a person into the position, so
Yeah.
once we're able to fill the position, we'll get that person on board, and we will orient them to like where Sally left off. I mean, we do have like
Yeah.
kind of the work that she had done leading up to it, and we'll kind of proceed from there in terms
Okay.
of the, like the next steps
Alright.
with everything. But yeah, the expectations will carry it forward.
Perfect.
Okay, awesome. So next is the update on the student survey that was conducted last year.
Sure. So we did the student survey last year. You all remember, it was in the spring. It was open to students in the spring up through the end of the school year in June. We looked at the results, and Shivali and I compiled like a summary of the results. I'm disappointed to say that we did not get a lot of student responses. We had very few. I think it was only 12 or 13,
Yeah.
something like that.
Wow, that's not a lot.
No, we did not get a lot of responses. So that's gonna skew a lot of the data when it's such small numbers. It was open to all students. We did notify students in several times in different ways and things like that. So for the purpose of like just student confidentiality, we aren't gonna share all of the responses because we don't wanna
Yep.
do that. But we did compile like a summary, so I'll display that, and we can look this over. So just to go back on the question, the first question we asked was, how can teachers make their classroom management and discipline practices more fair? A summary response here to this was, students believe that teachers should apply consistent classroom management and discipline practices. Teachers should be aware of workload being assigned to students and the impact that it has, is generally speaking the conclusions that we reached, or that were reached, I should say, from the responses. For question 2, how can we raise awareness about microaggressions and create a more inclusive and respectful environment for all students? And we define microaggressions as being small, often unintentional comments or actions that can hurt or offend others based on their identity. For this response, a summary of the response was placing an emphasis on respectful behavior, encouraging thinking before speaking, student-led resolution for minor issues. PSAs/assemblies may not be taken seriously and can even have a negative effect. Listening to students who share experiences of feeling targeted, and teaching resilience and not being overly sensitive were some of the responses we got there. Question 3, what aspects of our school make it feel welcoming? What changes or actions would enhance the sense of belonging in our school? For this one, it says positive behavior of peers and teachers and availability of supportive resources were the most prevalent themes. Friendly and welcoming nature of peers/students was a major factor. Existing sense of community and belief that it was up to the students to create a positive environment. Respectful and supportive demeanor of teachers was also important. One student mentioned a specific teacher who greets students with a smile and maintains a positive, respectful environment. And student clubs and mental health support were mentioned. Question 4, what steps or actions could we take to address and prevent racism, ensuring a more inclusive and equitable environment for everyone? definition of racism was provided as prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism by an individual, community, or institution against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group. I can't see this. Sorry. Ethnic group, typically one that is minority or marginalized. And the response to this was equal treatment, zero tolerance for racism, sexism, or homophobia, enforcing school rules equally, accountability for racist and bullying behavior, teaching basic respect and having a clear policy against discrimination. Lack of racial diversity is a contributing factor. Some students felt unqualified to respond because they hadn't experienced racism directly. Question 5 was, what actions or initiative do you think would help ensure a more supportive and inclusive environment for LGBTQ plus members of our school? The definition here is LGBTQ plus, an acronym for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer, with a plus sign to recognize the limitless sexual orientations and gender identities used by members of our community. And for this, there was a wide range of opinions. There was a common theme of equal treatment and importance of creating a safe and inclusive environment. Suggestions include having a GSA club and punishing and addressing discrimination. And question 6, what actions or initiatives do you think would help ensure a more supportive and inclusive environment for all NKHS students? And for this, many responses emphasize basic respect, equality, and kindness, suggest a focus on treating all students equally and preventing bullying as a fundamental step, more effective discipline for bullies, better mental health support, flexibility for individual needs, better plans for students returning from hospitalization to manage workload, respect for, quote, anytime passes, and school policies need to be enforced consistently. So that's, again, the summary of the responses that we received from the survey. And again, like I said, there was just a disappointing number of turnout in the survey.
Remind me again how it was implemented. Was it like time during advisory?
Yeah, we allocated time during advisory, and we also sent out surveys out electronically for students to complete. If they prefer to do it at their own time, they could do it. We had sent emails to advisory teachers to allocate advisory week to do this. We
And it
had
was all grades, right?
Yeah.
Was there like some technical issue? I mean, 12 out of,
1,374.
it seems bizarre.
It's surprising because like
Yeah.
we got 7 students who applied for this round of the DEI,
Yeah.
and they all listed some type of like adverse experience that they had, and yet there were only 12 who
Actually completed
who
the
actually
survey,
completed
yeah.
the survey. So that's
I mean, it could
interesting.
also be like, I don't know, Will, if you agree, but it could also be like time of the year, you know, it was
That's
in
what I was thinking,
June.
mainly, like, it's in the spring, it's the end of the year, and there's
Yeah.
also, I don't know, maybe advisory teachers didn't like
That's possible.
tell students
That's
about it.
very possible.
Like, cause I
We do
remember
that
this
all the
going out,
time.
and I don't, my advisor didn't tell me about it. Like, we had the survey works, and that was it for surveys during the year. So maybe it was just advisors, time of year, it could be like a multitude of
Right,
factors,
right.
but,
Mhm. Yeah,
I
that is
definitely wasn't
very much
expecting
possible.
like 12 or 13.
No,
That's
no.
very much possible, like I
Yeah.
send out, hey, do this during advisory, and then I get like 4 advisories doing what I asked them to do. So my suspicion is like, you know,
Yeah,
just don't do it.
Yeah.
Yep,
I think it's hard to
That's-
get people to fill out surveys nowadays, especially without an incentive or at least knowing how long it would take. Like, if you think it's gonna take 10, 15 minutes, you're probably not gonna do it.
but I also sent out separate email to students directly for that reason.
Yeah.
Because I knew, you know, that may not happen.
Like,
So,
I
I
reach
sent
out
that out
5
too.
surveys a day, like
Mm-hmm.
YouTube or Netflix, like, do you want this? And just like, skip.
I do see a common theme through here though, which is consistent discipline practices,
Yep.
which goes back
Yeah.
to
Yep.
the discipline committee and like the core
Mm-hmm.
issue with that. So that at least is interesting, like,
Yeah.
so that speaks to the need to student conduct policy and, you know, having to kind of tighten that up. like, Will, despite the, lack of response, I still think it was important that we did this.
Yeah, for sure.
And I appreciate you bringing this forward because, we put it out there, we gave people the opportunity, and I do think, like, there are common themes through here that we have seen in other,
Yeah.
things.
It's still valuable information, it's just
Yep.
not like the turnout.
Yep,
It is, and I'm seeing this in other schools too, like the discipline for especially bullying and like racism. Like a lot of people are saying they don't think it's I don't think it's the appropriate like seriousness of it. Like even in Jamestown and in Newport, like people are complaining about bullying like a lot and just not having anything really change or like with the responses or whatever the discipline matrix is for them. Like it's over. It's not reducing, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that goes to, like, addressing things at the elementary school level and teaching, like, these principles there, right? Because
Yeah.
if it's not being addressed at the elementary school level, it's not gonna get any better as it progresses. Like, it needs to, by the time you're a senior in high school, you either have it or you don't, right? Like, and so,
Well, that's exactly what I think. Like, if we do it at a younger age where it's implemented there,
mhm.
then it will be less of an issue when it goes further on. Because I can see it from, like, the school's standpoint, where, like, if you do, like, it was in one of the questions, like, if you do PSAs or assemblies and stuff like that, students might take it less seriously because they see it as a joke. And that's part of the thing that's, like, frustrating to me, where it's, like, we have an assembly for it, where it's like important stuff and then students take it less seriously,
Mhm.
especially in high school where people have their beliefs and it's kind of, they don't really care. But if you do it at a younger age, then I think it would be a lot more effective.
So what is the discipline for bullying? Like if someone's caught bullying, you get-
It's a range
Okay.
of potential actions that can be taken because bullying can take a lot of different
Oh, yeah.
forms, so each like report or complaint is handled on an individual level.
Okay.
And really there's a policy that we base it off of, but the ultimate like outcomes from a bullying investigation, if it's a determination of bullying and the response that's taking place, often covers a lot of different ground as far as actions that are taken. But it ranges depending on the severity of what's going on.
But, like, even with that, because we get the report twice a month, like the official bullying
Mhm.
report, right, that shows the number of, like, officially deemed bullying, right, like, versus something that's not bullying,
Mhm.
like, wherever the line is, I'm not sure. And you can see a difference between the different elementary schools, 100% the middle schools, right, like, there's a huge discrepancy. And I just refuse to believe that all the bulliers are at one school and are not at the other. So that goes, I think, in my mind, to practices of the people who are implementing the procedures, right? Like, it's not possible that the only bulliers are in one school. It's just not. So that goes to consistent implementation of our existing policies. And I've raised this a bazillion times with Ken. So
you're saying that the policy's not being implemented?
I am saying that there's a huge discrepancy between the number of documented instances of bullying at one school versus another. And, like, there's just no way that there's only bullies at one school.
Okay. So
Consistently.
okay.
Period after period after period. Like, maybe in one period you might have more at one school and more at another, but, like,
Okay.
continually over a period of time, it's just statistically impossible that you would have 0 at one school and 7 or 8 at another.
Okay.
And you're saying comparing like elementaries, middles, you would not have anything to compare to high school, right?
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and you
Okay.
can see a smaller discrepancy between the elementary schools, like, it's a little bit, but the middle school, it's a glaring discrepancy.
Mhm. Gotcha.
So I understand what you're saying. I think I do. Which is, are you saying that there's maybe less of a reporting going on at certain schools versus
Or
other schools?
more of a reporting, like,
At the other.
at the
Well,
other.
that's the same thing. Like, it's depending on how you look at it, it's either
Depending
more
on
in
how
one
you
place,
look
or,
at it,
yeah.
right, yeah.
Do the principals undergo the same training, or do they undergo a training in bullying?
The principals, yes, they've been, I mean, they're aware of the policy, they're,
They
Trained on the
calibrate,
policy.
we do the handbooks together.
we've gone over investigations
Mhm.
about when complaints come in and how to proceed.
Do they do it like all together? Is it sort of like a collaboration, or is it just,
It's
Like
both.
Yeah,
one-on-one.
We've had both.
It's both.
okay?
And does that seem like, has bullying gone down over time?
No,
Or is it kind of constant, or is it?
I mean, looking at the numbers, it's pretty steady.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's always gonna be some level of it, but if it's not decreasing, maybe there's other,
Yeah. And I
Well,
would,
other ways
Yeah, I mean,
to
it's
address
something
it
where I
that
think
I'm
looking
not
at the
sure.
data would probably be the best way to look at it, so we can do that,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
And this is what the whole disciplinary thing is, right? Like changing different ways of handling it so that we can, yeah, alright.
Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm.
And was that temporary committee disbanded?
It was, cause it was temporary, right, and then so they made their recommendations, and so we can review what those recommendations were and, you know, see kind of, you know, circle back on where things should be with there, cause I do think that that is a ongoing, issue, cause I've heard some of the same complaints, Ian, about like race-based bullying at the elementary schools not being addressed, and I've also heard, gender-based bullying, right, and like, you know, things like that, and just lack of, education at that age, like, about, same thing at the high school, but like, you know, why that's not okay, and, you know, how to kind of address
That's
it.
just crazy.
What's that?
Racial-based bullying at elementary schools is,
Well, it's in more of the middle school than elementary. You don't really hear about it at elementary, but once it gets in middle school, it's like pretty consistent.
I find it really disheartening, because my kids are older, but I distinctly remember when my son was in kindergarten and there was a first or second grader. And again, these are, you know, principals who aren't here anymore, and like threatening him and bring it to the principal, and I really felt as a parent that the principal just did not know what to do. I remember giving her like a book about, like children's books about talking about bullying, and thinking, why am I having to do this as a parent? And then that same principal, when, I don't know if it was bullying, but my other son was on the bus and some kid just kept kicking him and he got his pants all dirty, so I actually sent the pants in to the principal to show her. And she took the pants and gave them to the mother of the child for her to wash them, without my permission or anything, and then sent them home. And it was, why would you deal with a situation like that? And I just remember feeling as a parent that the person who really should be in charge, who's ultimately supposed to be protecting our children within a school
that shouldn't
building,
happen.
was not well-equipped in 2 instances.
Yeah,
And I do think they have gotten a lot better than that.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
do
that was
say,
years ago,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's sad to, just when you hear, like, it's still happening.
I mean, bullying is something that I can say that in my scope as an educator for 20-something years now, I think schools were in a really bad place a long time ago. I think we are in a better place now. Does that mean we're perfect? No, it does not. But I definitely think we're in a better place than we once were with how we are.
that's kind of what I was gonna say, like, the administrators at the high school, like, really try, like, it's like, there's not a lack of effort, like, it's, they're, like, I give credit, like, all the credit in the world to y'all for, like, really trying on stuff like this, and then there's just, like, there's only so much you can do, especially when a lot of it's coming from home,
Yeah.
I feel like, so, Like,
I
there's good
imagine
work
this-
being done, like, it's so much better than it was before.
Oh, 100%, well, I agree.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thanks,
yeah.
Will.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever like completely gonna go away,
It's
that's
not.
not what I was trying to
Yeah.
imply. I
And
just remember as
I
a parent,
understand.
that
No, I
feeling
understand,
like,
Mary. It's terrible. It's a
like-
terrible feeling. It's
and the kids were
horrible.
like elementary, like
Yeah,
little,
absolutely.
like first, second grade.
I think bullying is a really important topic, and it's a really challenging topic for a number of reasons. And I don't want to just talk about like just my own experience, because that's not everything. But I have, in the time being a school administrator, handled a lot of things that were, within the bullying scope. And one of the things that is very difficult is obviously the emotion involved, but also like the frustration that I've seen from parents when they can't be given the full answer about everything that involves, especially another student. That is a very frustrating experience for a parent, and it breaks my heart as an administrator, really, having to leave them feeling that way, because oftentimes when we don't know something, we kind of assume the worst. And there is definitely times where I know the policy has been followed, I know action has been taken, I know it was appropriate and in line with what should be done, but the parent of the victim is still left really angry and frustrated. I can totally understand why. Because in their mind, they don't see the kind of outcome, if you will, for the perpetrator that they would like to see. And that does not, I'm not saying this as a way to absolve the school of our duty and responsibility. We're not perfect, and we will continue to work to be better than we are. But I do know that it's a complicated topic for that reason, you know?
Is
But
there
that
like
right
an
there, that
element?
empathy, like that matters, right?
Yeah.
Like, and like conveying that to either set of parent
Mhm.
makes a difference versus being like, well, there's nothing we can do.
Totally.
Right, like, and I
Totally.
think, to Will's point, like, there has been a marked shift in administration at all levels, where shifting from, like, apathy
Yeah.
to that change, and I credit both of you, like, with that, and Dr. Juba, like,
Mhm.
and that, even if, like, we're not, even if, like, numbers-wise, we're not fixing the problem, at least, like, it's, that shift alone makes a difference, so.
Yeah, and at the high school, I definitely seen the whole shift with, it was very punitive, you know, in nature at first, when, a few years ago. And then we have worked to kind of like really move towards, and it's taken a while, but it's also become a culture now, which is the most important thing. So even the teachers, how they handled things 5 years ago is different from how they do it now. And like you said, it comes from the top, that message, the culture
Mhm.
comes right from here all the way, trickles down. So that has been definitely a positive, and you can see it in the interaction amongst kids too. The culture is different.
And I still think, and we talked about this a little bit in the past too in this group, and Will, you can probably speak to this more than anybody. The real challenge is when the adults are not around, and the way that the students interact with each other. Am I right
Yeah.
or wrong, Will?
Yeah.
Because we've heard a lot of things about, as the adults, we've heard a lot of things about, oh, you don't even know what goes
Mhm.
on behind the scenes.
Mhm.
You don't even know what we hear. And it's when we're not around. And it becomes this thing of like, I'm just walking around trying to be a student, trying to do my thing, and they hear terrible things. And it comes down to, now the burden becomes on them to say, oh, now I gotta do something
Like,
about this,
even
I
around
gotta, like,
substitutes, when it's even, like, if it's not like a teacher with somebody who has authority over him, there's no filter. Like,
Right.
they'll, and then you can, like, there's only so much y'all can do about it, cause y'all can't hear about it, cause like, a lot of it is, like, most of the bullying and stuff like that happens when adults are nowhere near.
Mhm.
Like, that's 99% of it.
Is there an element of like counseling and support for the perpetrator? Like to get to the,
Yes.
like what's going
Yes.
on? Is there something at home?
yes,
What's,
that's part of
Yeah.
the resolution process.
For both parties
Yep.
too, even
Yeah,
for
for
the
both, yeah.
victims, because, you know, we wanna make sure that, that they know how to respond to that when it happens in the moment, because you can't always stop it, but we wanna make sure, you know, and reporting. I think reporting has gotten a lot better. Because students are coming to us and reporting, that was another issue before, they were not
Because
reporting.
before they didn't trust that anything would happen,
Correct.
but
Well,
they're
so
starting
that is
to.
important.
And that's the word right there.
Mhm, yeah,
It's
trust, yeah.
trust.
Yeah, and the constant reassurance that adults and administrators are there for you with the bullying form, with the anonymous
Mhm.
reports,
Yeah.
that's really important.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yep.
yeah, because before things would get reported and nothing would happen, so it becomes like, well, why bother?
Yeah.
right?
And
Right.
sometimes that's still that feeling, I don't think that feeling is completely eliminated, and sometimes, like Rob said, that's the position administrators find themselves in, like they will actually take some action, but can't share the action,
Right.
so there's still
Mhm.
that feeling.
Mhm.
But, you know, I just think overall in the culture, when students start to come to school and feel safe, then they start feeling safe, so maybe they didn't get the answer, but they are feeling safer, and that's helpful.
And we talk about that a lot at the administrative level, the importance of the belonging piece, right? That students need to feel like when they come to school, that they are welcome there, they belong there, that they are valued there. And it's about who they are and be proud of who they are. And that goes for every student, it needs to go for every student. And that needs to be, the tone needs to be set at the top with the leadership and then filtered down obviously through the staff. But we do talk about that a lot. I think we can always get better. We can always get better, you know? That's how I want every kid in this district to come to school and have a great experience. I think that's how it should be. That's how it absolutely should be. And we are gonna, that's our goal, is to, our task is to do everything we can to make that happen. I'm sorry, but I have to go.
No, I was just
Okay.
gonna say,
I don't mean to
so,
like,
I have, I had attached the schedule for the rest of the meetings. It's typically the third Wednesday of every week, it's attached to the agenda. And we went through everything, so our next meeting will be, I no longer have an internet connection, so
Okay.
I don't know,
November 19th.
some point in November, when?
19th?
November 19th. And unless anybody has anything else, anybody?
are we sure? I don't wanna be like the
No,
call,
no,
like
no,
the-
that we
you know,
actually
like,
went through everything much faster than I.
Holly helped out that
anticipated.
being here, so we have to.
The accessibility audit up at the top of the next agenda?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
thank
yep.
you.
Okay, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. So Jen, do we have some new members?
We do.
I'm just looking at the list here.
A new teacher and a new student who is a freshman or a sophomore?
She's a sophomore.
A sophomore.
Okay.
Mhm.
You a senior this year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.